ever feel like just trying to eat healthy is like wading through mud?
Oh, absolutely. It's a minefield out there.
You're not alone, right? There's so much information. Everyone's got a theory.
Everyone's an expert, yeah.
But you, luckily, have a stack of sources on healthy eating.
That's right, and we're going to help you sort through all of that.
We are taking a deep dive today.
We are, with food scientist J.M.
Yes. And he's fantastic because he cuts right to the chase.
Yeah, he doesn't beat around the bush.
Like, remember that whole good old days thing?
Oh, yeah.
Like the tomato that doesn't taste like a tomato?
Back in my day.
Yeah!
Right. Like our grandparents, they just knew what was good.
Right, exactly. But JM's like, be glad they don't. Because, yeah, simpler times, all that. But really, our access to food variety and nutritious food has come a long way.
Yeah, he makes a really good point about that, in the past, that limited food variety, it actually meant that people were dealing with some pretty serious nutritional deficiencies.
Oh, interesting.
Like he talks about iodine deficiency, which was a major cause of thyroid issues.
Wow.
And then pellagra, which is a disease caused by a lack of niacin, which is a B vitamin.
Okay.
And these weren't just like minor things. These were serious.
Wow.
People were really struggling with these.
It makes you appreciate, what we have.
It does.
Even if it's overwhelming.
Even if you don't know what to buy at the grocery store.
The supermarket. And speaking of which, he's got some great advice for navigating the grocery store.
He does. He says, think about seasonality and price as your guide.
Okay.
Especially in the produce section. So like those overflowing baskets of beautiful tomatoes or berries.
Yeah.
They're in season.
Yeah.
They're going to be at their peak flavor.
It's true. You can get lost in those aisles.
You can.
Speaking of getting lost, how about feeding kids?
Oh, yes.
That pressure to make healthy choices?
It's so tough. And JM talks about this. He acknowledges those concerns about childhood obesity.
Right.
But it's not about blaming parents.
Right.
It's about building those healthy habits early on.
And it's not even just what's on their plate. It's us.
Oh, 100%.
He tells this funny story about the apple versus the the other snack, the bright, colorful snack.
The one with the cartoon on it?
Yes.
Yeah.
And all the other kids have it.
Ooh.
And you're just like, oh.
You're the bad guy.
And he's like, those are the choices.
It's those little things.
The little things that add up. It's not about never having the treat. It's about
moderation.
Yes.
Right.
So when it comes to the world of nutrition, can we talk about diets?
Oh, the D word.
Because everybody's got one.
Everybody's got an opinion, that's for sure.
And JM, he had some interesting points about the Mediterranean diet.
Which is always at the top of the list, right?
Yes, because, olive oil and sunshine.
Right. Who doesn't want that?
It sounds lovely.
It does. But he gives a little context, which I think is really important.
Okay.
While it is associated with a ton of health benefits, it's really important to remember that it's also rooted in a specific cultural context and lifestyle.
So it's not just about the food.
Exactly.
It's the lifestyle.
Exactly. And he talks about that famous Crete study.
Oh, right.
Where, people were living these long, healthy lives.
Yeah.
Fueled by olive oil and sunshine.
Okay.
But he's like, there was more to it than that. Like those individuals, they had lower overall calorie intakes.
Okay.
And they were very physically active because of their lifestyles. They were farmers, fishermen.
So you can't just eat the food.
You can't just eat the food and expect to have the same outcome. Yeah.
So if the Mediterranean diet is not this cure-all, end-all, be-all, what about all the other diets out there?
With their catchy little names.
With names and the promises.
Yeah, Lucia Mabe is wary.
Understandably.
Of those, yeah.
Yeah.
He's a big proponent of personalized nutrition.
Okay.
Because what works for one person
doesn't work for everybody.
might not work for another. Exactly.
So he's waving a big flag.
Yeah, proceed with caution.
Yes.
Don't just jump on the bandwagon because it's trendy or
a celebrity's doing it.
Exactly. He really cautions against restricting or extreme diets without really understanding what are the downsides.
Right.
Because they might not be sustainable.
Right.
And they could actually do more harm than good.
The paleo diet is a great example, I think.
Yeah.
Trying to eat like we were in the Stone Age. I don't think so.
Right. It's how restrictive can you be?
Yeah. It doesn't sound like fun.
No. And Jacob's point is that, while some aspects of these diets might have merit,
okay,
blindly following them without any guidance can lead to like nutritional imbalances and
Right, so you're not getting what you need.
exactly. It's about finding what works for
Your
you.
body, your lifestyle.
Your lifestyle, exactly.
And if you don't know, like, where to even begin.
Talk to somebody.
Yeah.
Talk to a qualified dietitian or a nutritionist.
Right. They can make you a plan.
They can.
Okay, good advice. All right, protein.
Oh, yes.
It's a big one. Everybody's talking about protein.
Everyone's got to have it. More protein.
More is better.
Right, for sure.
So more protein equals more muscle, more energy.
All the good things.
All the things.
Yeah.
All the good things. But is it true?
It's a common misconception,
Right.
especially like in the fitness world.
Right.
People who are physically active
They're just like chugging that protein.
all day long.
Yeah.
But JM is very clear on this. Most people get enough protein through a balanced diet. You don't need all the extras.
Where the shakes, all the powders.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And in fact, he even points out that like if you have too much protein,
Okay.
especially over a long period of time,
Yeah.
it can actually put a strain on your kidneys.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's not good.
Not good. And it can actually, it can lead to calcium loss from your bones.
So it's like the opposite of what you want.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Exactly. All right, let's talk about plant-based diets because that's very popular right now.
It's everywhere.
Vegan, vegetarian, all of that. What does he think?
He loves it. He is a fan of plant-based eating.
Okay.
He really is. And he acknowledges all the benefits.
Okay, good.
But he emphasizes that a well-planned vegetarian diet can be incredibly healthy.
Well-planned, that's like keyword. Keyword. You can't just eliminate things and hope for the best.
Right.
You have to think about it.
Okay.
And then, of course, he talks about vegan diets. And while, yes, they are very ethical
Right.
and they can be very, very healthy,
Okay.
they do require a bit more planning,
Okay.
particularly when it comes to things like vitamin B12.
Right, which you're not going to get.
You got to be careful because, yeah, you're not getting it from animal products.
You're not. So you need to supplement.
You do.
Interesting. Okay, so work with somebody if you're going to do that.
100%.
If you're going to change your diet that dramatically,
Yeah. Don't just wing it.
don't just wing it. Okay, sugar.
Oh, boy.
Everybody's talking about it. Everybody's trying to cut back.
The enemy.
It is. Like, what's his take on sugar?
He says, let's be realistic. Sugar, in moderation, is a natural source of energy.
It is.
Right? Our brain runs on glucose.
It does. It's true. We're, like, wired to want it.
Yeah, we crave it. There's actually, like, an evolutionary...
It tastes good.
It does.
Yeah.
But, like, evolutionarily.
Okay.
Think about our ancestors, right?
Okay.
Hunter-gatherers.
Right.
They would get that sugar from fruit and honey.
Okay, that makes sense.
And that would give them those quick bursts of energy.
When they needed it.
When they needed it.
Yeah.
When their next meal wasn't guaranteed.
But now...
Now.
Food's everywhere.
It's everywhere.
So those cravings...
Put us in trouble.
Yes, they do. They really do. And it's hidden in everything.
It's everywhere. So, JM, he says, become a label detective.
Oh.
You got to look for that hidden sugar. It's got a lot of aliases.
It's not just sugar.
No, it's corn syrup. It's dextrose.
High fructose corn syrup.
Yes. It's got a lot of different names.
It's like a game.
It is a game.
Okay, so pay attention to the labels.
Read those labels.
Okay. Let's talk about GMOs.
Ooh, another big one.
It is.
Lots of controversy there.
There is, and it's everywhere, but there's also this fear,
Oh, for sure.
like we don't really know.
Right, exactly.
So JM, plant expert, he's like, here are the facts.
Let's look at the evidence. Right?
Yes, the evidence.
Yeah.
So you might be surprised, he says, how prevalent they already are.
Like, even if you're trying to avoid them,
You can't.
you probably are still consuming them.
Yeah. Yeah, and processed foods and all
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
So it makes you wonder, like, all the fear.
Is it warranted?
Is it really that bad? He tells this funny story. He was talking to an ecologist once, and, they're very anti-GMOs.
Okay.
And the ecologist is like, farmers are being forced to use GMOs.
Okay.
And JM's like, okay, do you know any farmers that have been forced? Silence.
That's great. That's a great story.
So,
It's not always what it seems.
right, the rhetoric.
Yeah, yeah.
He also talks about this blind taste test
Oh, tell me more.
with sugar beets, okay?
Okay.
And so there was, the GMO sugar beets and the non-GMO.
Okay.
No one could tell the difference.
Really?
Isn't that interesting?
That is fascinating.
It makes you think, doesn't it?
It does.
Okay, speaking of interesting,
Yes.
glyphosate.
Oh, boy.
We got to talk about it. It's that herbicide. It's been in the news.
Very controversial.
Very. Is it safe or not?
Right. Everybody wants to know.
That's the question.
Right.
And JM gives us some context here, which I think is super important.
Okay, good.
He says it has been classified as probably carcinogenic
Okay.
by the IRC.
Okay.
But here's the thing.
Yes.
Working the night shift is in that same category.
Why?
Working in a hair salon.
Oh my gosh.
Right.
Interesting.
It makes you think twice, right?
Yeah, it does.
So probably carcinogenic, like, okay.
Doesn't mean the same thing across the board.
Doesn't mean you're definitely going to.
Right.
Right.
It's not an automatic death sentence. Right. There are other factors.
Yes. And he said the IRC classification, like, it doesn't take into account your exposure, all that kind of stuff.
Right. So much to consider.
Right. Like, how much are you getting exposed to?
Exactly.
So context is key.
Context is key.
Yeah.
JM always brings us back to that.
Always. He also asks, like, this great question. He's like, why is glyphosate always the bad guy
Oh, interesting.
when there are other pesticides that are maybe even worse?
Right. What about those?
Why is this the one?
That we're picking on.
Right.
Is there another reason?
Interesting.
Yeah, it makes you wonder. Okay, let's move on to something that JM is very passionate about.
Okay.
Vaccines.
Yes.
He's all about the science.
He is very science-based.
And he's like, the benefits far outweigh the risks.
He is very clear on that.
Very clear. He's on record saying, not vaccinating your kids is a failure of parental responsibility.
Wow.
He said it.
Okay. He's not holding back.
He's not. And he backs it up.
Good.
He's like, vaccines have eradicated so many diseases.
And it's true. We forget.
We do. Because we don't see them anymore.
Exactly.
We don't see polio, all these things.
It's easy to take it for granted.
It is.
Right.
So he wants us to think about the bigger picture.
Okay.
Not just you, it's not just about you.
It's about everyone.
It's about herd immunity.
Exactly.
So he's like, it's one of the most significant public health achievements.
I can see why he's so passionate about it.
You can tell, right?
Yes.
He's like, this is important.
Yes.
Okay. So before we wrap up with JM,
Yeah.
what's his advice to aspiring scientists?
To aspiring scientists, because it's a tough field.
It is. He's very upfront about the challenges.
Yeah, because it's not always fun in the lab.
No. He's like, it's long hours.
It's a lot of work.
It's very competitive.
Yes.
Funding is hard to get.
Yes, it's not a get-rich-quick scheme.
No. But he clearly loves it.
He does.
He talks about those aha moments.
Yeah, this breakthrough.
The breakthroughs. That's what keeps him going.
It's the passion.
It is.
So follow your passion, even if it's hard.
Yeah. And don't expect it to be easy.
Yeah, exactly. And he's clearly making a difference.
Oh, absolutely.
He's debunking those myths.
Yeah.
He's telling us what's up.
He's fighting the good fight.
He is. He is. All right, so we covered a lot.
We do.
We talked about the good old days.
The supermarket.
The supermarket, diets, GMOs.
Glyphosate.
Vaccines.
Vaccines.
Oh, my goodness. But he didn't really talk about one thing.
Okay. What's that?
He didn't really touch on, food marketing and how that affects our choices.
Interesting.
We don't even realize it.
Right. Subliminal messaging.
All those commercials and, the grocery store layout.
The packaging.
It's all designed.
To make you buy things.
It's very, very smart.
It is.
So are we really making our own choices?
That's a good question.
That's his question.
Are you really craving that sugary cereal? Or is it because you saw the commercial 20 times?
Or there was a cartoon character on it when you were a kid.
Exactly.
So it really makes you think.
It does.
It's about, tuning into your own, intuition.
What does your body actually need?
Yes. Not what the commercial tells you you need.
Yes. I love that. That's a great takeaway.
Yeah, so be a conscious consumer, right?
Be conscious, be aware, and, question those assumptions. Don't just take everything at face value.
There's no magic bullet. There's no quick fix.
Wow.
It's a journey.
It's about finding what works for you.
Exactly. And your body is going to change.
Of course.
What you needed 5 years ago
Totally different.
might not be what you need today.
Right.
So it's about always learning and growing.
There you go.
There you have it. A deep dive into the world of food myths, thanks to JM.
The myth buster.
He really is. He breaks it down.
He does. He makes it simple.
So question everything.
Always be curious.
Don't believe everything you hear.
And, think for yourself.
Exactly.
Find those reliable sources.
Yes.
And make the best choices for you.
Yes. Be healthy. Be happy.
There you go.
Until next time.